Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I wanted to do is show you guys a project that I've been working on here on and off for about the last 2 weeks. Now this is a project that I decided to come up with just because I was going through some of my parts and was thinking about how I could use them instead of throw them away. This project here was made with all broken parts, so nothing fully working or nothing in a fully perfect condition was used. These were all broken when I started the project, and it's turned into this. And that project here is this. This is what I like to call my Sega Mega Gear. And you may be noticing one thing right off the bat, and that is the casing. What I've done is I've taken an old N64 case, and this was a case here that had been cracked and had chips missing from it. I had taken the case and decided to modify it quite a bit while also using the inside here, which is a Sega Game Gear. So I was able to incorporate the Sega Game Gear into the N64 case, customize it a little bit, and turn it into this. Now some people may be asking, why would you do that? What's the purpose behind that? And the main reason for this is because this system here has the ability to display Game Gear games on the television. Now, to get into more detail, what I'll do is I'll kind of backtrack and tell you a little bit more about the story here of how I made it. With the system, I was going through my parts and trying to see what kind of parts I could use or what I could throw away, and I came across my Game Gear board. Now, this was a Game Gear that I had had a long time ago, about 5 years ago, and the screen was cracked on it, so I thought, okay, maybe I can find another screen, or maybe I can replace the parts later on, so I held on to it. I put it into my parts bin. Eventually, I wound up fixing other Game Gears using parts from it, specifically like the power board or the sound board. I had many different parts laying around from Game Gears, but the main board itself, I had taken capacitors off of it and etc. It was still the board, but it didn't have a fully working monitor on it. The N64, on the other hand, the inside board was shot, the cartridge slot was all broken to pieces, and the inside was, when you turned it on, it was showing some graphical errors. So I had taken the casing off. The casing was also cracked and broken around the side. I put the casing aside because there were some parts that were still decent on it and thought maybe I could use some parts from the casing, so I left that aside as well. And I just, started to think, okay, how can I use this Game Gear? I don't even know if the Game Gear still works. So what I did is first I picked up some capacitors, went back through it, refixed all of the capacitors that were on it, and obviously it didn't have a working monitor, so I plugged in the speaker to it. Once I got everything all, pretty much put back together, plugged it in and put in a game, and I got absolutely nothing. I had a bad power board on it, found another power board, hooked that up, and was able to get sound. Well, now that I had a Game Gear that had sound, I didn't have any video, and I thought, what am I going to use this for? Those of you who have seen on the internet, you've seen probably pictures of people who have done modifications to Game Gears to make them play on their TV using a Game Gear to television adapter board. I thought that maybe if I could pick up one of those, I might be able to save this Game Gear and use it for a TV Game Gear. So what I did is I ordered up the part for it. I got it in, and this is all just taking a chance. I mean, not knowing if it's actually going to work or not. But I got the board in, wired the board up, and plugged it in. With those of you who don't know about the Game Gear TV board, what it does is it allows you to play your Game Gear on your television using the same aspect ratio as basically the Game Gear did. So it'll show about half of a screen, or a half picture on a screen. It won't show a full picture, but at least it'll allow you to display a picture on TV. So I got the board in, I soldered it all up, and just hoped for the best, plugged it in, and lo and behold, it turned on. So once I had that turning on, I didn't have a case for this Game Gear, so I thought, what am I going to do for a case? Looking at my N64 case, I thought, well, maybe that could fit in there. So with some serious modifications here, as you can see, I've cut out this area here. I've made a metal plating section. This is something I bent from aluminum, made this myself. And this is for the cartridge slot here. I was able to get the Game Gear to fit inside an N64 case, and it worked out very nicely. Now, everything in here is broken, as I had mentioned at the beginning of the video. This was broken, the Game Gear board was broken, and even the controller was broken, as you can see here. The controller was not working. The inside of the board had snapped. Somebody had stepped on the back of it and had broken the back of it in. So luckily I had some parts here. I was able to patch that up. I rewired this and made this into a controller for this. It does have the standard Sega DIN connector here. or controller port connector, which I probably can't do this one-handed, but that's located here. And I've also included a space here for the link cable, so the link cable can be plugged in there. It has the stereo phone jack as well as the volume knob over here on the side, and this is something that is actually usable. So when you turn the system on, if you have it plugged in the back and the TV on, you can play the sound through the back jacks, but when you plug in the stereo jack here for the headphones, it'll turn the sound off of the TV and you'll be able to hear it through the headphones. So it's really nice. You can play this at night, don't have to worry about waking up the family. I've also modified this front here. This says Sega. It's a Sega logo that I had went and picked up and printed on there. And behind that is a blue LED. The cartridge slot is in here. And this is the casing. The casing, what I used for this is a kind of, I don't know what it's called. It's a little bit of a rough finish, but it feels really, really nice. And it's something that gives the case a little bit of character here. And I used some decals. Well, actually, I used some regular sticker paper. It was vinyl sticker paper. And using an X-Acto knife, I went and cut out the logo for this and the logo for this. Now, keep in mind that this system here is not perfect. It was made from broken parts, so it does have imperfections everywhere. You know, the controller itself has some scratch marks in it, but that's okay. It gives it some character, and I don't have a problem with that. But just wanted to have something that I could use to play on my TV and that would house my board here without letting it get damaged. The other thing I like about this here is when I went to make this, I had absolutely no idea how it was going to turn out. And when I do these projects, when I start to get into these projects, especially with modifications, I don't go in there exactly thinking, okay, this is the way it's got to be. There's no other way for it. I'm not gonna take any other exceptions except for the idea that I have written down on paper. Originally, what I had done is I had used a Sega, a Sega Mark III as my kind of base. I was thinking a Sega Mark III would look really cool, but I wasn't gonna take a Sega Mark III and chop it up, especially since I didn't have any that were broken. So the idea behind this one here was just to use parts that were broken to try and make something that was fully functional. So because of the parts that I had here, kind of like a painter who has a blank canvas, I just went along with the flow, and this is how it came out. In the back here, if we take a look at the back, I have this thing plugged in, so probably should have unplugged it, but in the back here I have my power jack. My power jack is located here, it just plugs in there, runs off of standard 9 volts. And in the back here we have our regular composite, and we have S-video, and we have RGB down here at the bottom. Now you'll notice these things are a little bit offset, and that's one reason is because I didn't want to have these confused. Even though they're similar, they're not exactly the same. This connector here I still have to make a cable for the RGB, but the S-video one is fully functional, as well as the composite cables in the back. And over here is our on-off switch. Now, some people may be asking, why in the heck would you put an on-off switch right there? And once again, like I had mentioned about the blank canvas, I just went along with the parts that I had and I tried to modify stuff around the parts. So this space here essentially was a space for an LED. There was like a light that was in this part here when I had chopped this back piece out. And I thought, well, how could I use that? And then I realized, okay, I got the on-off switch, so I'll just put that in there. So it's small, it's tucked away, it's kind of hidden in the back here, but it does turn on and off, and that's what I use to turn the system on and off with. I didn't want to make the front of the system or the side of the system too cluttered. I just wanted to make it kind of simple, make it look a little bit stylish at the same time, but not have these big toggle switches on and off in the front here. I even thought about using one of the original switches that they had used for the Sega Mark III in the back, where it just had the flick on and off one on the side here. But once again, I just didn't have that, and I didn't want to use one of the pin kind of switches. So I just went along with that, and it seems to work out fine. Since it is plugged in here, you should be able to see it turn on. Hopefully, if I can do this one-handed. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this one-handed. There you go. So you can see the blue light there turns on, and in the back there. So, but that kind of glows there. You can see the little Sega logo on the front. But it is a fun system, really works out very well, and it doesn't look too bad either. So this is the idea or the concept behind this. The naming of the system, I went and started thinking to myself, okay, once I get this thing all put together, what am I going to call it? I don't want to call it a Game Gear or a Super Game Gear, because if you think about it, with the Super Nintendo, they had a tendency to use the word super. So you had like the Super Nintendo, the Super, what was it? Super Game Boy, those kind of names. And since it was made from a Sega product and it was a Game Gear, in Japan here they use Mega Drives, and they use them in the UK and Europe. So I figured, okay, we got the Mega Drive, the Mega CD, the Mega Jet. Now if this thing was ever made, they must have probably used the word Mega in it. So I figured, why not call it the Mega Gear? So that's where I got the name here for the system. Putting in the games, they just slide in really nicely, and the way that I designed this too, I wanted this to be kind of flush here at the top, so the games would kind of slide in. It looked like it was part of the system to begin with. They just slide in like so. You can still see the artwork. It comes up to the end there, and then when you turn it on, it plays the game like usual. So it's got a little bit of artwork here that you can see on the front. Thought, oh, that might be kind of cool. I don't know if this thing will work first time. You could try and plug in the speaker or the headphones and see if it works first time or not. I didn't clean the carts here. Yeah, you can kind of hear it. There you guys go. Maybe you can hear that. I think that's the volume cranked up. Yeah, it's cranked up through here, so. But yeah, it does work. The speaker, the headphone jacks work. And what I figure we'll do is kind of hook this thing up here, and I'll let you guys see what it looks like in action. I'll show you what the composite looks like here, and then I'll show you what S-Video looks like. I don't have the RGB cable hooked up just yet, so I'll have to make one of those, but I'll show you guys at least a little bit of a look at what the two versions of the different displays look like, so you guys can take a look at that. Keep in mind, this thing is only going to display at the native resolution of the Game Gear. It's going to display at about half of the picture of the TV, so don't be surprised if you only see half a picture. The only exception to that, that I've found so far, is Castle of Illusion, which actually plays at full screen, so it's kind of cool there. But what we'll do here is we'll just cut. I'll go and get this thing all wired up, and we'll take a look at it on the big screen. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got our controller plugged in, game card all plugged in. In the back here, we have our composite cables all hooked up there, so let's pop this on and check some of that. Turn this on here. And one thing you'll notice is probably just the beginning here, the display is going to show at quite a high resolution. You'll notice that there's some graphical glitching down at the bottom there, and that is absolutely normal. This system here was not designed to display a picture this big, so normally that area would be hidden. But if you take a look at it, maybe we'll start it up here. We'll hit the start button so you guys can take a look at it in action. But this is the display ratio of it. If you compare this to the size of the TV that I'm using, this is a 55-inch TV, so I have about a 27-inch screen here, or a 27-inch picture, which I can use, which is not bad at all, considering that the original Game Gear had a very small, what is it, like 3-inch screen or so? So this makes it very nice. Another really nice thing about this is the fact that you can just enjoy this in your home without having to look at a small screen for long periods of time. Obviously, it's not something that's portable. Well, technically, I guess it is portable, but it's not a standalone system. So it's not something where you can just pop in some batteries or something like that, take it with you on a road trip. But the good side to it is that there are a lot of kind of games that are quite time-consuming, like a lot of the RPGs and such, and it really makes it nice to sit at home and play this on your TV instead of having to play it on a small screen for a long period of time. Ooh, that was bad. Yo, jump. But most of the games you'll see are going to play in this aspect ratio. The only exception to it is, like what I've said so far, is that Castle of Illusion seems to play at full aspect ratio, which is really cool. It's nice to be able to play that at a full-size monitor or full-size screen. So, but what we'll do is maybe just play this just for a couple more seconds. But next, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put in the old S-video and let you guys see the difference. You'll probably be able to notice the difference right away here. You can see a little bit. It doesn't look bad at all. It looks really, really nice. And if you only had composite video, I would say it's not a problem at all. It looks quite clear and it's easy to see. But with the S-video, you'll get a chance to see a little bit more of a difference. So what we'll do here is we'll just turn it off for right now. We'll go back, plug in the S-video, and let you guys see what that looks like with this game, as well as good old Castle of Illusion. We'll pop that in as well. So I'll see you guys back here in a couple of minutes. Okay, so as you can see here, now we have our S-video cable plugged in there, and we have our left and right channels. And we just left the game running here to make it easier, but you can take a look at what S-video looks like now. And it should be quite clear compared to a few minutes ago. Once again, you know, if you were just playing through regular composite, it wouldn't be a problem at all, but the S-video does make it look much, much more crisp. Now, when it goes through RGB, it should be even better than this, so I'll have to get on that eventually and try and show you guys what it looks like with that. But nonetheless, just want to share with you guys a little bit of a look at this system here. And as promised, I'll show you a bit of Castle of Illusion, what Castle of Illusion looks like for the system, so you guys can get a chance to see that as well. Let's turn this one off here, and we'll give that a look-see. Stop this right here. Alright, so we'll grab our card out here, and we'll put in Castle of Illusion. It should be alright. Okay, and pop this guy on in the back again. Hopefully, if everything went okay. There we go. Now once again, this is still going through S-video, but this one on the other hand, we're going to have to zoom out a little bit because it's being shown at the full aspect ratio. And there we go. So we'll just start this up, play this just a little bit. But what's nice, like I had mentioned, this one plays at the full, it uses the full aspect ratio of the TV, so looks great. But nonetheless, just want to share with you guys a little bit of a look at my creation here, the Sega Mega Gear, and it's a fantastic little system. If any of you guys out there are trying to think about maybe starting, you know, or creating your own system here, I would totally recommend it, as you won't regret it. So that's about enough rambling for me for right now, but like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Enjoying the old Game Gear on the television.